Hunter versus Beast, Legend of the Night Jungle. The thick, sweltering jungle felt endless. The air itself seemed to resist every breath, heavy under the weight of humidity. A helicopter sliced through the sky above the canopy, the roar of its rotors announcing the arrival of a team that would never return the same. An elite special forces unit, led by Lieutenant David Holloway, had been deployed into the heart of a wild zone in southern Argentina, a region where, just days earlier, an undercover recon team had vanished without a trace. Their final transmission ended abruptly, and the coordinates pointed to an area officially marked as threat-free. Holloway, a hardened veteran with a past he rarely spoke of, knew better. Missions like this were never routine. His team was the best of the best. Jake Whisper Barkley, a specialist in covert operations. Laura Nash, a tracker and survival expert. Kevin Brooks, the heavy hitter, a former MMA champion now wielding a heavy machine gun. And finally, Maria Silva, a tech expert and cryptographer, brought in last minute by high command. Her task: decode something found at the last team's disappearance site. They landed at the edge of the forest. It was too quiet. No birds, no insects. Only the rustling of leaves stirred by the hot wind. Near the missing team's camp, a grim scene awaited them. Torn tents, scattered equipment, not a single body. Just bloodstains and deep prints pressed into the mud, resembling wolf tracks, but far too large, far too linear, as if the beast walked on two legs. This isn't guerrilla warfare, Laura muttered, crouching near a gash torn into the steel casing of a supply crate. These are claws, and they cut through metal. Claws? David frowned. There aren't bears in this part of the continent, and even if there were, bears don't hunt like this. Night fell fast, almost suddenly. They decided to set up a temporary camp and move out in the morning. But in the darkness, the jungle came alive. Branches above their heads shifted as if someone was watching. Laura's helmet-mounted thermal scanner picked up movement. Just for a second, a silhouette, massive, beast-like, then gone. At dawn, they found Kevin's body, or what was left of it. His chest cavity had been ripped open like paper, entrails strewn across the ground, and his face. There was no face. The skull had been stripped clean, like someone was collecting trophies. Deep gouges ran across his back, as if someone had played with him. And on the nearest tree, carved with claws, "You're next." In a panic, they tried to contact command. Nothing. Just high-pitched static. Maria discovered the signal was being jammed. Someone didn't want them leaving. "It's not an animal," she whispered. "It's a thinking predator, and it's toying with us." The next few hours turned into a hunt, but they weren't the hunters. One by one, team members vanished, dying in agony. They left behind screams, blood, and clawed messages etched into bark, taunting, brutal. "So you're the strongest? Show me." When only 3 remained, David, Laura, and Maria, they finally caught sight of the real creature. A surveillance cam they had mounted near a canyon captured it. A bipedal figure, muscular, covered in thick black fur. Its eyes glowed yellow. It moved with inhuman speed. Around its waist, bone fragments, human skulls, and a strange metallic device that resembled a cloaking system. That's a werewolf," Laura said, her voice shaking, but not from fairy tales. "This one's advanced, intelligent. This isn't a curse, it's evolution. Or a weapon." "We weren't sent here by accident," Maria added. "I think it's hunting anyone it sees as a threat. It's studying us, adapting." They set a trap. Using blood and a heat generator as bait, they lured the creature into the canyon. Everything was going according to plan until it spoke. Its voice was hoarse and distorted, like it came through an old radio transmitter. "You are interesting, you fight, but you are just meat." It attacked. The trap worked. Halfway, Laura died, but not before driving a hunter's blade deep into the creature's throat. Maria was wounded. David was left to face the beast alone. Their battle was brutal. Blow after blow, claws against steel, blood against fury. David knew he had one chance. lure it to the explosives they'd planted earlier. He activated the timer, played dead, and when the beast reached for a skull, it triggered. The blast shook the jungle. A chunk of the canyon wall collapsed, burying the monster. Its body was later found, half burned but still breathing. It hissed and laughed as it died. David, scorched and bleeding, carried Maria out. They were the only survivors. When the rescue chopper finally arrived, David already knew what he'd say. "This isn't over," he told them. "If this thing was here, there are more." And that night, as the helicopter lifted them out of the cursed jungle, yellow eyes flickered between the trees, watching. The chopper carrying the burned David and wounded Maria disappeared into the jungle haze. But it didn't leave silence behind. Only a creeping, ominous stillness. Deep within the tropical hell, beneath the collapsed rock, the body of the intelligent werewolf stirred. A faint heartbeat, a twitch of the fingers. In its eyes, veiled with pain, the yellow glow flared back to life. It wasn't dead. It was pretending. Like any true hunter, it was waiting for the next game. 3 weeks passed. In a classified lab deep within a U.S. military facility, scientists studying the remains of the mysterious creature interrogated David. He sat in a gray, windowless room, a two-way mirror in front of him. Behind him, memories that refused to fade. "Are you saying the enemy was intelligent?" Colonel Nolan's voice sounded less like a question and more like an interrogation. "Did it communicate?" "It watched, chose its victims, and learned," David said, staring straight through the observation glass. "It wasn't a monster. It was a soldier, a hunter. It played with us." "And you're claiming it wasn't alone?" "I'm saying it was a scout," David replied quietly. "And now, they know who we are." At that moment, an alarm pierced the building. An unidentified object had suddenly appeared on the radar, approaching the northern perimeter of the complex. Everything was cut off by a shrieking noise and a sudden flash. The power died, only red emergency lights remained. And behind them, the sound of claws. Outside, security found only one survivor, a technician curled up beneath an armored vehicle. His eyes were empty, his mind shattered. He whispered, "He's not alone. He came for his own. He's calling them." Meanwhile, David, now accompanied by Mary, a recon operative and former Black Beret, was deployed back to South America. The orders were simple. Locate the source of a signal detected near the crash site. Something had activated after the supposed death of the werewolf. This time, the team included only hardened fighters. Kane, an explosives expert. Todd, a tracker from Alaska who knew how to survive invisible hunts. Lee, a ruthless scout with the instincts of a predator. And Maria, she insisted on returning. "I feel like we missed something," she said, clutching the werewolf talisman covered in ancient runes. When they reached the crash site, it was clear the body was gone, but the ground was soaked with dried blood and claw prints, multiple sets, no corpse, no remains, only a mark carved into an ancient tree, a crescent moon with 3 vertical lines. Below it, in English, "We came for our prey." "He didn't come back alone," Maria whispered. "He summoned a pack." The first attack came at night. Lee had stepped aside to check a tripwire. She never made a sound, no scream, just a momentary thermal drone image, a towering shadow standing above her, then darkness. They found Todd hanging upside down over a ravine in the morning. His body was mutilated and carved into his chest like an engraving. "Never turn your back to the forest." The hunt had begun again, but this time there wasn't one predator. There were 3. Their shapes moved in the depths of the foliage. Their breath echoed in the night. Their claws left marks on trees and bodies. One of them stood taller than the rest, with massive shoulders and a mask carved from the skull of a bull. His eyes were red, unlike the others. "The Alpha," Kane muttered. "The leader." By the third night, They knew they wouldn't survive by playing the enemy's game. David proposed a plan. Lure the three into a network of abandoned World War II tunnels, remnants of an old German base, tight quarters, no trees, no place to vanish. But to lure them, someone had to be bait. "I'll go," Maria said. "He's looking for me. Through the amulet. I can feel it." The plan worked. One by one, the werewolves charged into the tunnels, unaware the walls were rigged with explosives. 2 were killed. 1 blown apart, another gunned down at point-blank range with a prototype plasma rifle. But the third, the Alpha, survived. He dragged David from the rubble, broke his arm, pinned him to the ground, and spoke. "You're a good hunter, almost like us. But you are not Pack." "I never wanted to be," David hissed, activating the detonator embedded in his tooth. Nothing happened. The Alpha grinned and revealed the crushed remote. He knew. A gunshot rang out behind him. Maria, covered in blood, amulet in hand, fired a pistol loaded with silver rounds. The Alpha dropped to his knees, unleashing a howl, not of pain, but rage. He lunged at her. But in that moment, David grabbed a shard of iron rebar and drove it into the creature's heart. The Alpha let out a savage rasp, then whispered, "You've become like me." He collapsed. A week later, in the hospital, David stared out the window. The TV buzzed in the background. Reports of missing tourists, strange tracks in Canada, red eyes caught on night cameras. "They're already here," he said to Maria. "And if we don't prepare, we'll become their prey." "What if we already are?" she replied, opening a folder of fresh satellite images. One showed a forest, another, a silhouette, and the third, a mark. The crescent moon with 3 lines. The sky above the western coast turned red. Not from the sunset, from fire. The first strike came without warning. A reconnaissance satellite, which had detected strange heat signatures in the jungles of Guatemala, was shot down in seconds. At the Pentagon, they already knew. The werewolves had returned. But this time, not as lone hunters. They came as an army. They emerged in southern Mexico, cutting through jungles, erasing everything in their path, leaving no witnesses. The first to fall were the Special Forces teams sent to investigate the signal. They didn't even get a chance to send a code. David and Maria were summoned to the U.S. Northern Command headquarters, where they were met by Colonel Harris, a legendary commander of elite covert ops, General Martinez, leader of Operation Silver Barrier, and Dr. Sheldon, a biogeneticist studying the remains of the slain Alpha. On the table, satellite images, dozens of tracks, moving north from the jungle toward the Texas border. Along their path, raised villages, empty towns, not a single survivor. Only claw marks and torn flesh. "They didn't come to hunt," Harris said grimly. "They're advancing, like they know we're weak, that we're not ready." "No," David shook his head. "They're not here to conquer. They're after someone specific. They don't care about ruling the world. They care about the one who survived." "You," Maria said, her voice trembled. "Or maybe you've become something more." And maybe she was right. After his final battle with the Alpha, David had started to change. His vision sharper, his reflexes lightning fast. He could sense fear. Worst of all, his wounds healed faster than any human's. But he still had a choice, and he chose humanity. "We won't let them break through," General Martinez declared. "We're assembling the best of the best. Shadow hunters, our new special unit trained for paranormal threats. They're already on base, and you, David, you'll lead them." Silver Front Base, built deep in the Arizona desert, resembled an underground city. Drone hangars, laboratories, armories, training zones with holographic combat simulations. It was here all data on the intelligent werewolves was gathered. Their biology, language, symbols, methods of camouflage. And it was here a new report came in. 3 Special Forces units had vanished in the Chihuahua Plateau region. General Martinez gave David the order. Find them. Confirm enemy presence. Eliminate the threat. With him, only the elite. Captain Reiko, a battle-hardened assault specialist with 15 years in hot zones. Vega, a cyber intelligence expert who could break any system heart, a sniper with inhuman precision, and Kyle and Kane, twin melee fighters and masters of close combat. When they reached the zone, everything was quiet. Too quiet. No sounds of nature, no movement. Only the stench of blood and rot. On their way in, they came across the first truck, its door torn off. Inside, only helmets and shreds of flesh remained. Farther ahead, they reached the camp. In the center stood a pole with a severed head mounted on it. Carved into the forehead, "Want to play again?" At that moment, thermal scanners picked up movement in the forest from 4 directions at once. One of the soldiers shouted, "They're everywhere," and then vanished into the dark, yanked away by something unseen. The hunt had begun. The werewolves weren't just fast, they were trained. Each one knew how to flank, how to distract, how to lure. Their claws tore through armor. Their bodies moved like lightning. Hart had taken position on a hill, but they found him. Camouflage didn't help. Captain Reiko fought like a demon, firing until his last bullet, until one of the beasts ripped his heart out and ate it in front of everyone. David and Maria, arriving with the backup team, activated an ultrasonic trap, a pulse that briefly paralyzed the werewolves. And that's when they saw him, the new Alpha. He was taller than the last one. His skin was marked with ancient symbols, runes of some forgotten language. He looked at David with hatred and curiosity. "He remembers you," Maria said, "but now you're a threat to them." The battle wasn't about survival. It was about domination. Only David, Maria, Vega, and one of the twins, Kyle, made it out alive. They blew up the entire plateau, killing around 10 of the creatures. But the Alpha survived and disappeared. 2 days later, reports came in. Attacks had begun in 3 separate parts of the country. In Mississippi, signs of a mass slaughter. In Montana, an entire team of rangers wiped out. In the forests of Colorado, a military convoy vanished without a trace. The president declared a state of emergency. Rapid response forces were mobilized nationwide. Satellites detected new thermal anomalies. One signal stood out, coming from deep within Yellowstone National Park. "They're gathering," David said. "They're building a hive." "Or a base," Maria corrected. "This isn't a hunt anymore. It's an invasion." The next phase of the operation would take them straight into the heart of it, toward what intelligence believed to be a portal or an ancient artifact through which the werewolves were moving between worlds. It was a colossal structure, hidden deep underground, built long before humans walked the earth. Etched into its walls were carvings, creatures uncannily similar to the ones now destroying cities. "They were here long ago," Vega whispered. "We just forgot." David ran his hand along the walls. One of the symbols matched the one the Alpha had left behind. He knew this wasn't the end. This was just the prelude. And if they didn't stop them here and now, the next generation would be born in cages, not homes. He stood, clenched his fist. "Then we go straight into the fire. And we burn every last one of them," Maria said. Night fell on Yellowstone. But this darkness wasn't natural. It breathed. It watched. It prepared. Deep inside the park, a team moved forward under the codename Harpies. 16 soldiers in next-gen exosuits, equipped with thermal sensors, neuroreactive armor, and plasma-based weaponry. Their mission: secure control over the epicenter, a zone where, just 3 days earlier, 200 people had vanished, including an entire unit of heavy infantry. Their last radio transmission: "Shadows are moving. They're watching. These aren't human." Then, only static. As the team approached the zone, drones began their sweep from above. On screen, dense fog. But according to sensors, that fog shouldn't have existed. Its density exceeded physical limits. GPS signals flickered. Infrared picked up distorted silhouettes, shapes that kept changing form. Then one of the drones went down, melted midair. Its rotors liquefied as if hit by invisible heat. The command center couldn't make sense of it, which is why David, Maria, and Colonel Harris monitored the mission personally, deep underground, in the operations bunker, coordinating the op. Team Harpies advanced in a line. The forest felt dead. No sounds, not even wind, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Operative Grace reported movement. Something flashed past, on two legs, but with arms too long, twisting at unnatural angles. Everyone raised their weapons. Silence. Then, a flash. One of Vega's motion beacons detonated in the air. It had picked up a thermal anomaly, then lost it, as if something was toying with them. Sergeant Logan lagged just a few steps behind the group, then vanished. No scream, just his helmet, carefully placed on the ground, clawed open. That's when it became clear in the command center. The enemy was here, not alone, not hunting. They were waiting, luring. "They're building a maze," Maria whispered. "Like they're studying our behavior." "Or training," Harris added. "These things are preparing for something bigger." Meanwhile, deeper in the forest, the rest of Team Harpies started to fall, one by one. No sound, no fight, just blood splatters on trees, and claw marks across armor. One soldier, Hendricks, screamed into the comms, "I see it!" "It's a wolf, but not a wolf. It's a demon." Then came screeching, snarling, and silence. David clenched his fist. He could feel it. These weren't just werewolves anymore. They were organized, trained. They had a plan. Then everything changed. One soldier, McKinnon, survived. He made contact, wounded, covered in blood, but alive. His voice came through clear. "They're playing with us. They're smart. And they're looking for you, David." The Alpha spoke. "He doesn't want to destroy us. He wants you." At that moment, three figures emerged from the depths of the forest. Werewolves, but not like before. Their bodies were fused with metal plates, melded into their flesh. Their eyes glowed with cold amber light. They didn't charge. They just stood and stared, right into the drone cameras. Between them, a live soldier, dangling like a puppet in their grip. They hurled him against a tree, carved into his chest. "You're next!" The base went to full alert. Operation Shield Wall was launched. Helicopters, tanks, mobile artillery platforms, the full might of the U.S. military moved toward the incursion point. But there was one problem. The enemy wasn't centralized. They had scattered, and every section of forest had become enemy territory. David insisted he had to go in himself. He joined Team Storm, an elite unit trained in urban warfare and specialized in fighting paranormal threats. Vega and Kyle joined as well. The team advanced under cover of night. This time, they were ready. Minefields, infrasound beacons, motion scanners. Every step was calculated, and still, they were surrounded again. But this time, David felt it. Before it happened, his instincts had sharpened. He could hear the change in the forest's breathing. He could feel eyes on him. He knew they were in a trap. And then, the attack. Sudden. 5 werewolves erupted from the ground. The battle was savage. For the first time, David used his claws. He tore one of them apart, but another was faster. Only Maria, firing from higher ground, saved him. One by one, the soldiers fell. But the enemy suffered losses too. And for the first time, the werewolves retreated. They hadn't expected this kind of resistance. When it was over, the team reached the canyon. Beneath a stone archway, hidden in the shadows, they found it. The entrance to the underground complex, the one intelligence had whispered about. Inside, a labyrinth of tunnels, built long before humankind existed. On the walls, murals, lunar symbols, sacrifices, and something that resembled a gate. "They're not just taking territory," David said softly. "They're opening a portal." "Are you sure it's not already open?" Maria whispered. A roar echoed behind them. primal, wolfish, piercing. And from the shadows, he stepped forward. The Alpha. His body was scarred. On his chest, a glowing red symbol. He didn't attack. He stared, then bowed his head and vanished into the darkness of the tunnel. It was a game, a chess match, and they'd only just reached the center of the board. The night over the canyon thickened, darker than shadow itself. The ashes of burned corpses still drifted in the air, leaving a metallic taste in the mouth and tightening the skin around their eyes. The surviving group huddled in a narrow crevice at the base of the cliff. Team Storm had lost 6. David stood motionless, eyes locked on the darkness. His fingers trembled, not from fear, from something else. Something achingly familiar. Something old and black, turning inside him. But he wouldn't let it out. Maria stepped closer, gently touching his shoulder. "You okay?" He just nodded, jaw clenched. "Not now, no matter what." "We need to go deeper," Vega said. "There's something at the center of the complex. I picked up an anomalous energy spike." "A trap," David replied. "They're drawing us in." "Maybe," Kyle said. "But if we don't go to them, they'll come here. The only question is, do we meet them on our terms or theirs?" The agreement was silent. They moved forward. The tunnels beneath the rocks felt like the spine of some ancient beast. The walls weren't just marked with symbols. They told stories. Humans kneeling before half-human, half-wolf beings. Werewolves. Beside them, others. Creatures from some other time. Rituals. Blood. Symbols of a portal. Opening into the night sky. Everything pointed to an ancient culture. A civilization of werewolves, long before humans ever existed. David paused at one mural. It showed a man, eyes burning with fire, rising from the ashes, surrounded by both humans and wolves. One of the wolves knelt before him. David knew that face. It was his, distorted by time, but his. He staggered. "What does it mean?" he whispered. "Legacy," a voice replied. They spun around. From the shadows he emerged, the Alpha, but not in his beast form. Now, a man. Tall, powerful. Dark eyes, silver strands in his hair. "You're not one of them," David said, raising his weapon. "You—" "I was the first," the Alpha interrupted. "But you are the last." The air shifted. Energy pulsed through the walls. Maria cried out. Vega clutched his head. Darkness flowed like water across the stone. The Alpha extended his hand. "They hunt because you awoke. Because the blood in you remembers. Not because you're the enemy, but because you're the key." David stared into the creature's face. He didn't fully understand, but he felt it. Something had changed inside him. Since he'd entered that forest, there was no transformation, no ritual. But there had been dreams, flashes, scars he hadn't had before. He didn't know the full truth. But he knew the Alpha wasn't lying. "If I'm the key," David growled, "then show me the door." The strike was instant. The Alpha lunged, and only Maria's reaction saved them. She triggered the defense pulse. It threw the Alpha back. But he hadn't tried to kill them. He vanished, dissolved into the darkness, leaving only these final words. "You will remember everything, and when you do, you will choose a side." Everything trembled. The walls were collapsing, the gate was opening, and this time, an army of werewolves was rising. But now, they knew who was coming for them, and his name was David. But for now, he was still human, still clinging to the last remnants of his identity. And it was only a matter of time before the beast in his blood demanded release. The rock quaked. The underground world groaned, as if awakening from a 1,000-year sleep. Standing among the shattered murals, David felt something rising inside him. Not a wild roar, but an ancient call. He could no longer deny that his presence here wasn't a coincidence. Too many signs, too many hidden truths clawing their way out of his past. Vega cursed under his breath. Staring at the pulsating energy sphere, suspended in the air above them. "This isn't just a signal," he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's a beacon. They activated it." "A beacon for who?" Maria asked, rifle at the ready. Then, static burst through the comms. Kyle scrambled to adjust the frequency. "It's the base," he whispered. "No way. Survivors. Orion unit is inbound. Heavy armor, drones, one heavy assault chopper. We need to get topside, now." David froze. We can't lead them here. They're not ready. No one understands what we're dealing with. These aren't just monsters. They're intelligent, organized. They have structure, purpose, strategy. He paused. We need to understand what we're up against." "You act like you already know," Maria snapped. "What's happening to you?" He looked at her. His eyes were dark, heavy, filled with suppressed fury. I've started seeing them. Before they come, hearing their thoughts. I don't know how. It's like they're part of me, or I'm part of them." Silence fell. The only sound was the rhythmic pulsing of the beacon. "David," Vega stepped closer. "Are you infected?" "No," he said firmly. "I'm not one of them, but I'm not fully human either." At that moment, the ceiling caved in, and special forces stormed in. Exosuits first, scouts and engineers behind. One of the commanders, Colonel Hart, recognized him. "Survivor? Hell, I thought you were dead. What the hell is going on down here?" "You didn't just walk into an anomaly zone," David replied. "You stepped into what the werewolves consider sacred ground. You thought you came to hunt? You're the prey." "You're talking nonsense." "Then explain it," David pointed upward. "The symbols, the tech malfunctions. Every lost team had exactly 7 soldiers. They're playing with us, studying us, better than we've studied them." "We're not here to lose," Hart growled. "We're here to wipe out the threat. We've got satellite coordinates. We'll call an airstrike." David shook his head. "It won't work. They have shielding. You call that strike, and you'll trigger something we won't be able to stop. This is a cradle. This is where new alphas are born. This is the core. We either take it out precisely, or it all starts again. Not in the jungle, in the cities." Hart froze. He'd seen it before. In Afghanistan, in Latin America, in classified reports that never made the news. David wasn't lying. "What's your plan?" "We have a way in, through the ritual chamber. They won't expect an attack from that direction. But I have to go alone. They want me. I'm the bait. If I go in, they'll come, all of them. That's our moment to strike." "You'll die," Maria said softly. He looked at her. "Only if I can't hold the beast inside. But if I can, I'll end this." Hart exhaled. "You have 1 hour. Then we go in hot." David nodded. There was no fear in his face, only certainty. He removed his jacket, keeping only his gear and a rolled-up shirt. His body was scarred, some wounds clearly not of human origin. He walked forward, and the darkness seemed to part for him. Maria watched him go. "He's not coming back, is he?" "Or he won't be who he was," Vega whispered. "But if he's right, we have a chance." A rumble echoed through the sky. A flock of shadowed creatures burst from the cliffs, rushing toward the Special Forces camp. It had begun. The war had begun. And below, deep in the heart of the catacombs, David walked straight into the mouth of ancient evil. And there, in the center of the ritual circle, he finally understood. His blood belonged to them, but his will was still his own. And that made him more dangerous than any werewolf. The Earth's vibrations could be felt in the air, as if the planet itself groaned beneath the weight of an ancient curse awakened from the depths. Over the entrance to the ravine, a heavy fog spread, but it wasn't mist. It moved, it breathed, it watched. Within it, shapes flickered, elongated limbs, glowing eyes, claws slicing through the air. The werewolves stepped out of the shadows. Army drones picked up movement from 10 different directions. Scanners went haywire from the number of signatures. Hundreds of them. And those were just the outer layers. From deep inside the labyrinth, larger forms were approaching. The alphas. Colonel Hart clenched his teeth and gave the order, Begin purge! Hellfire mode. No prisoners. Hold the entrance to the catacombs at any cost. Turrets rolled out from armored vehicles. In the sky, wasps, automated drones loaded with thermal warheads, swept into formation. Explosions thundered. Flamethrowers roared. But the werewolves kept coming, closer with every second, as if each fallen beast only enraged the pack further. Hell had broken loose on the surface. Meanwhile, deep within the caverns, David moved forward. His breathing was heavy but steady. No trembling, no hesitation. He felt it, something ancient, prehistoric, awakened from a slumber buried under centuries. The cave walls began to glow with symbols, messages left by those who lived before mankind. This place was a sanctuary. At the center of the chamber, seated on a stone throne, sat an ancient warlord. His body covered in scars, curved horns swept back, eyes yellow, intelligent. He didn't growl. He spoke. "You've returned, child of blood, and you've brought those who butchered us. We are your brothers, yet you chose them." "I chose no one," David replied, veins burning like fire. "You burned villages, killed children. You're predators who treat slaughter like a game. Such is the nature of power. We are not murderers. We are judges. You are one of us. You know it." David clenched his fists. "I'm human, and I'll end your hunt." With a roar, he lunged, hidden blades springing from his sleeves. The Alpha blocked the strike, claws against claws, steel against steel. It wasn't just a fight. It was a clash of two worlds, civilization versus primal fury. The chamber echoed with every blow. Above ground, the battlefield was chaos. The werewolves attacked from all directions. One drone was swatted from the sky, impaled midair. Soldiers fired back, but many lost their bearings. Some of the beasts moved so fast they looked like shadows. Every sound was fear. Every shot, desperation. And then, from the very heart of the mountain, a roar tore through the air. Louder than everything, everything stopped. Even the Alphas lifted their heads in confusion. David emerged, covered in blood, hands torn, but eyes clear, and in his grip, the severed head of the High Alpha. "Your leader is dead," he growled. "You wanted war. Now you've got it." He threw the head at the feet of the nearest beast. A rasping howl echoed. The surviving Alphas exchanged looks. The younger ones backed off. A stillness fell, like time itself held its breath. "Leave," David said, voice calm but unyielding, "or die." The werewolves began to retreat. One, huge, defiant, charged, but was immediately gunned down. The others didn't move. They saw something in David's eyes, something even their leader had lacked. Freedom, will, chaos. David approached Hart. "You can end this now, or spark the next war. Your choice." The colonel looked at him, then at the battlefield. Dead soldiers, shredded bodies, burned out drones. He understood. "All units, evacuate. We're pulling out." As the last helicopter lifted into the sky, David stood alone atop the ridge. Below him, dying silence. He had no more commands, no more orders, no more badges, only a path. He looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond the clouds, a new darkness was growing. But he would be ready, because this time, the hunter had become a legend.